Welcome back, guys. This is Armando from Bomberos on Fire podcast. I'm Firefighter Group Company. I'm here. Before we start, I want to say thank you to everybody to listen to me or to watch these videos on YouTube, Spotify. Google is out now. Is YouTube podcast, so have to be Apple podcast and Amazon. Nobody cares about Amazon, but they have a podcast channel too. Thank you, everybody, for listening to me. Please subscribe, link, like all those stuff that people likes, so you can continue doing the podcast. Today, I got a really special person. Like I said before we start the podcast, you have a lot of good information that people don't want to hear or don't listen, but you actually save life in the long term in a way. And that's why I was so excited to have you in the podcast because this will be really interesting, especially you also work in NFL. So Super Bowl's coming up, so that'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Alex, welcome to the podcast. Thank you, my friend. You can introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and we can start from there.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. My name's Alec Wons. I work with Ready Rebound, so helping first responders recover from injuries in an expedited period of time rather than waiting a long time. Before that, I was a strength and conditioning coach for guys in the NFL, so guys in the off season as well as the combine. So I actually have coached two guys who are on the Chiefs coming up for the Super Bowl in 2 weeks now. And then a couple other guys are on the Lions and Jets, but they got knocked out of the playoffs.
Yes.
And then with my time at Ready Rebound, I'm the podcast host of the Chief Exchange, where I interview fire and police chiefs all across the majority of the U.S. and then some outside, just to share how fulfilling a career can be in public safety and allow chiefs to connect with each other. So it's been a fun process.
Yeah, and that's awesome. So we're in the same field, the same struggles in a way. So let's start from NFL because that's the people will, that's a clickbait right there. Yeah. Which teams do you work for, and who's your team on the Super Bowl this year?
So I actually grew up in Kansas City. So my dad's office used to be right across the street from Arrowhead where the Chiefs play. And when I grew up, the Chiefs stunk something awful. So these last 3 years have been great. They won 2 Super Bowls. Now they're going to the Super Bowl this year. So it's been really fun to watch them succeed there. But I grew up playing soccer at a professional academy. Didn't end up getting a professional contract, so I went to play college soccer at Marquette University up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is where I live now. And when I was in school there, I majored in exercise physiology, so I wanted to be a strength coach. So after graduating, I did my internship down in Phoenix, Arizona with a company called Exos. So I was down there working with guys in the NFL, so who were just coming up through the combine, and then those who were in the off season after the season ended. So I've worked with guys on the Minnesota Vikings, Chiefs, Detroit Lions, Jets, used to be Browns, now the Warriors, kind of all throughout the league, and just really down to earth people. And now it's amazing to watch them be 2 or 3 years into their careers and just absolutely crushing it.
Oh, they're crushing it. Oh man, if they win this year, oh man, that will be a city to go to for football for the next 10 years, literally.
And the World Cup coming up in 2026.
I know. Yeah, World Cup 2026. It's true. It's between Mexico, Canada, and U.S., right?
I think so. Yeah. Spread across North America. Yeah.
Yeah, and one game Mexico for, I guess, safety reasons, and everything else is in Canada and U.S. Yeah, that'll be interesting. And one of the games will be in Florida. Or two of the games. Yeah, we got a couple of stadiums here.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, I can make it to one. Hopefully,
I
hope so. So, what makes you go from training professional football players that are literally machines, from the quarterback to those dudes like 300 pounds or literally pure muscle, lean muscle, to firefighters, police, and first responders?
Yeah.
What happened there?
It's a really funny story. So I was down in Phoenix at that company, down at that location, and they weren't hiring there at that time after I did my internship, but they opened up a brand new facility just right outside of Milwaukee. I went to school. So it was kind of a chance to be a part of something new that they were trying to replicate in Arizona. So I was like, great. I didn't want to go back to Kansas City. I loved Milwaukee, even though I kind of regret it right now in the winter with it being a little chilly. But went there and it just wasn't the same. It was not professional athletes. It was a lot of high school athletes and parents coming in. And I just really thought I've been doing high-level sports for the last 8 years, playing in the professional academy, training with professional teams in soccer, then going to college. I don't know. I just kind of started getting burnt out on the coaching piece. So what really happened is even rewind a little bit from there, my senior year of college, I was building an online mental health platform for college student athletes.
Oh, wow.
During that time, I mean, it's still happening now, but there was a lot of student athlete suicides, and we're
Yeah.
trying to be able to create a community for people to be able to connect, share how they were feeling, to hopefully not have them end up taking their lives and just feel more supported. Well, during that process, I actually got connected with the CEO of, he's the CEO of a couple of companies in Silicon Valley, actually, who was from Milwaukee and came back. The president of the university connected with him to work on the project. And it didn't end up turning into anything. There was too much red tape, especially in the mental health space, but
Yes.
a great learning experience. Well, then fast forward when I was coaching, the CEO is actually who I met through college. He became the CEO of Ready Rebound. So we met each other. He didn't know about Ready Rebound. And he started telling me about the company. And I was looking for a life change. And it really tied well into my background of physical health and training, as well as mental health and working with college student athletes. And firefighters and police officers have a very similar mindset. And I saw a need, especially to be able to, after all this stuff happened in 2020 with George Floyd, I wanted to be able to try and do my piece to give back to public safety and just show how fulfilling a career in public safety can be. And it's funny, just looking back 2 years, I never would have guessed where I am right now, but I've never loved doing anything more in my life.
That's awesome.
So just very blessed.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Thank you, man, for doing that for us too. Funny thing, I started the podcast because mental health too. That was my main topic because in Central Florida 2 years ago, 3 firefighters died from suicide back to back from January to April, literally. And my mom is a life coach. She said, hey, why don't you, because I knew one of the guys. I said, why don't you find a way to express yourself? And, oh, cool. So my brother is a marketing guy. I said, why don't you do a podcast? You like to talk shit. Sweet. So that's what I did. I started a podcast and talking to people, and I talk people around the world, literally. When I was in Poland, I talked to a fire chief, and I asked him, what do you think about mental health? And he said to me, what is that? Yeah. So a lot of suicide, a lot of depression, anxiety on firefighters. We lucky that we live in a country that at least care and know and is aware about it, and we have a lot of tools. Even though we don't want to listen to that sometimes, it's hard to push them that way. But we got the tools. A lot of places they don't even acknowledge there's a problem. Yeah. So yeah, bro, it is. It's
I mean, when you look
easy.
at the top, I think the top 3 causes of fatalities in first responders is suicide, heart disease, and cancer. So it's like, where are we focusing on those areas?
Yeah. And we can fix all those. We can prevent all those. And luckily, you have people like you and your company and probably companies around the United States that are at least working on the physical part, which is strength and conditioning, which is great, bro. I need it. My elbow hurts. My knee hurts. I'm doing this for almost 10 years. At least in the U.S., because I was a paramedic in Venezuela, in South America, and a rescuer. So I know how it's to, you get injured, like, suck it up, you'll be fine. But it's not. You need to actually take care of yourself.
Yeah.
What is the number one injury that firefighters you see in firefighters all the time?
It's kind of split between 3. There's a lot of knees, backs, and shoulders, even some bicep tendon tears. Big one, shoulders, anything from pulling hose to the ladders to just lifting people as they get heavier, which also affects their backs. Those are the big 3 is knees, backs, and shoulders. And you only get one body, so it's how are you helping take care of your body throughout your time in the service, but not just get to retirement, but also to live out a healthy retirement.
Yeah. Some people don't make it after retirement.
Or some people have to retire because they were injured and go through such a horrible process. And if you're going to retire, like, you should at least be able to do it on your own terms, not because you get dragged along a process where you're forced to not come back.
Yeah, it's true. That is 100% true. Do it in your own terms, not because of back injury or something else. We had a guy that he literally died on shift, and he didn't die. He came back to life, but he literally died on the EMS bay, CPR, and have a ROSC, came back to life, and his life completely changed. Yeah, he came back to work six months after. He couldn't do any more firefighter stuff for multiple reasons, but he was able to work as a medic, and his life completely changed. It's a 360 of a complete life. He's healthier now. Bro, he literally died. I need to talk to him, by the way.
Yeah, isn't it funny though how it, maybe funny is not a good word, but like how it takes something like that for some, and I think it's just human nature in general. There has to be something a huge life event to happen to us to make a change that we otherwise could just make, but it's like until you get back into a certain corner, it doesn't happen.
Yeah. How do you guys promote that preventing, how do you guys do that? Because your job, like I said, we are a special breed, firefighters and police and medics, because we don't listen, because we think we know it all, and we're too close-minded. So how do you break that seal and say, hey bro, you can last longer if you do this type of exercise or follow these rules? How do you guys do that?
There's a lot of companies out there who focus on the preventative health, which, as you should, that should just be done in general, is how do I eat healthy? How do I exercise? How do I take care of my body? How do I get enough sleep? Our main thing is you can be the healthiest person on there, the buffest guy in the truck, but you still roll your ankle and you stuff up the truck. You still hurt your shoulder playing softball. Then what we find is when you get injured, sometimes you get assigned 6 to 8 weeks of PT, then maybe even a little more PT or injections before you go see a primary care physician, before you see a specialist, before you get an MRI, and you're 3 or 4 months down the line before you figure out, oh man, I need surgery, when we could have found this out in week 1, just like they do in professional sports. So our whole thing is, how do you treat first responders like professional athletes? If Patrick Mahomes goes down on the field, you guarantee he's going to get MRI within 20 or 30 minutes. And
100%.
if something is torn, he's going to get surgery next day or 2 days after.
100%. Yeah,
that's exactly what we're doing with first responders.
Awesome. Are you guys nationwide? What are you guys located?
Yeah, nationwide. So we're in 19 states, over 370 departments, and just growing like crazy. Relatively small company out of Milwaukee, but we found in public safety that good news travels fast and bad news travels faster, especially stuff that gets talked about at the kitchen table. And a lot of it's just been one firefighter tells another firefighter, one fire chief moves to a new department, and just bring the service with them from there. It's been around officially for 10 years now, unofficially 15 as the first 5 years. Our founder was just Luis Vera. He was just doing this by himself. It's actually a crazy story how it even ended up happening. Is he was an athletic trainer for the Milwaukee Brewers, so the MLB baseball team in Milwaukee. And he was actually really good friends with the health and safety officer at the Milwaukee Fire Department, because they both went to college together, but then went their separate ways. And when they were both back in Milwaukee, the health and safety officer asked Luis, he's like, why does, when one of your pitchers get injured in January, tear the rotator cuff, and they're back throwing a fastball in June or July, one of my firefighters has the exact same rotator cuff injury, and it takes him over 12 months to get back for the exact same injury. And Luis is like, well, just treat them like professional athletes, get them in to see the best doctors in the shortest amount of time, get a definitive diagnosis so we figure out what the problem is, and then we hold their hand through the entire process. Like, athletes just show up to their appointments and focus on getting better. So Luis, for 5 years, it was just call Luis. As a firefighter would call Luis, and Luis would connect him with a doctor, would connect him with imaging, same day, next day, the third day. And then it just started to kind of spread around the city. And the fire chief was like, hey, this is not just a Milwaukee problem. This is nationwide. So then it just kind of spread from there up to now, 370 departments in 19 states.
Wow, that's impressive. That is awesome. Wow. Yeah, that's hustling, buddy, right there. The finest. And I love it. Are you guys in Florida, by the way?
We are. We actually have 3 departments and looking for a couple more. I think we have Captiva, North Collier, and Englewood are the 3 down there.
You guys don't have anyone in Central Florida?
Not yet. Are
you looking for an apartment? Because I can give you some contacts and see what you guys can do, because it makes completely sense. Because the faster we go back on service is better for the department. Less money have to waste. If you're looking just the amount of money, you know how it is. It's all about money, and sometimes they just pick on dimes. But with you guys, could be, short the process. Instead of doing like 6 months, you'll be back in 3 or 2 months, and save
it's easy to calculate the overtime savings for if you save a couple months of time, how much a shift is. But the fact that the program pays for itself is like the cherry on top. It's just really, how do you help someone who's injured? Because whenever you're injured, you only think of 2 things: is what the heck is wrong with me, and then second of all, what's my plan to getting better? Yeah. So the exact process described doesn't matter where you get injured, on duty or off duty. We help your family members, any retirees, the department too. So if your kid gets injured playing soccer on a Saturday, you can call us right then and be able to help you get it on like a Monday or Tuesday.
Oh,
so
that's nice.
Just giving people the care they deserve. Healthcare system is broken.
Yeah, it's true. We like it or not, it's broken, and hopefully the next, who knows when, it gets fixed, or at least modify, or at least make it easy for everybody. It's just, I hear you, man. That's actually, I might actually give you a contact to see if you guys can talk to the chief, the place that I work, the fire department that I work, and we'll see what happens. I work at District Fire Department, Disney area, You know that one probably. At least somebody
But
been there once.
I
Disney
don't
World.
know. It doesn't hurt to know new people, and it's like I said, if we can help, great. And if we talk and we find out we can't help, it's no big deal.
Exactly. At least you give it a try. But that, yeah, and also being injured, put in the firefighter burning of the family too, because how you provide to the family. Because now your paycheck go from whatever to, because you got light duty, and then you got a long term, short term disability, and if you're the only source of income, and the stress, and then the mental health, kick in, and then anxiety, depression, and a snowball effect, and then you got alcohol, and well, we've seen it. Unfortunately, we've seen it too many times.
Yeah, it's almost like you throw a rock into a pond, and just all the ripple effects that come from that injury are just all negative. I mean, you can't even. A lot of firefighters have a second job. You can't even work your second job at that point if you're injured too.
Yes. Which state is the most that you see? You know what, they take care of the firefighters. Which state? They got the stuff, the A game. They have everything up to date, and they actually care. And which one? Lack of.
I would say it's kind of spotty because there's some spots that it's. I can't just say one state in general.
Yes.
There's been really impressive models in Colorado with Denver and South Metro Fire.
Well,
A lot of the bringing the stuff in house for different stuff for PT and trying to do as much prevention as they can to help reduce the risk of injury. But there's a lot of other departments who are trying to do similar things. So I can't say there's one geographic region. And just the hard thing to see is departments are being asked to do more with less. And over the last 20, 30 years, populations and call volumes have only increased, but staffing levels have stayed the same. And we've seen this with LA right now is
oh my God.
Departments are understaffed, under-resourced. People are going to get hurt. Whether it's intern at the department or external, you can't provide the customer service needed to be able to help the members of the community. So really it becomes a big safety hazard
Yeah, it
at
is.
that point.
Yeah, LA is a big example now. The wildfires that literally, we got the email ready to see if we can go help out LA from Florida, because they can. That's it. They're done. Now, what I work is one of the dense populations in a small area, because theme parks. So you got 10,000 people in a little square with a castle in the middle.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of calls, a lot of walking around. It's a lot of heavy weight on your shoulder, doing stuff back and forward, going through tunnels, and yeah, it's interesting that, and yeah, I will give you the contact of the chief of health and safety, and hopefully something comes out of that. At least try. At least we try. That would be awesome.
I was curious in your role, what do you think what are the most calls that you get at your department?
In my department now, well, it depends. It's seasonal. So the 100% of people that I treat is tourists. They're coming from whatever place in the world or from US, and they don't want to call until the last minute, because they all spend $10,000, $5,000 a ticket for theme parks. They don't want to lose their day, and I seen it. Kids with sepsis alert. They don't want to call us because they don't want to lose the theme park day or whatever. So I will say most of the call at night will be trauma. Kids falling from the bed of the hotel room, hitting the head against the corner of the night table, and a lot of syncope or pass out in the summer. The theme park is so hot, and you cram 20 people in a little hallway waiting for a line is 3 hours line, and then grandma pass out, and then you got the people like grandma 90 years old and in a roller coaster. Why?
That's good.
I mean, I would say lack of common sense is a big one. When you, for some reason, when tourists, you live it at home, common sense. Yeah, we've seen a lot of crazy stuff, but yeah, I would say most would be trauma, falls, and obviously syncopes all the time, just because it's summer. Yeah, and then that's for tourists, and then you got the employees. Then you got anxiety, depression, suicide. We have a lot of those, especially after COVID. We had an increase of depression and anxiety patients through the roof just after COVID, because you never closed. Well, we closed, kind of, I guess. I was in the bubble. Bro, I went to the bubble.
Yeah.
The NBA bubble. That was amazing.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, because remember when the COVID, this ESPN was open for the NBA to do the games. So is the whole basketball court empty with TVs all around it. And I was able to just take a peek. Like, this is insane. Basketball players staying in the hotels, and they call for whatever reasons. You have to go through, be checked out temperature, go through the bubble, or the meters in the middle with the physician. It was, that was an experience.
Oh, I bet. It sounds like it. Well, you never knew if you were able to go out in public again, or if you're ever going to see what the second half of someone's face looked like.
Exactly. Sometimes you don't want to see it.
That's fair.
But yeah. How was your post-COVID stuff? You guys had a rough time with that or no?
Because it was interesting because I was in college during that time, actually. And when we were playing, because it was Division I sports, so we got our nose swabbed 3 times a week. We still ended up having a season, but if one person got COVID or sick, you had to kind of cancel the games, or people had to quarantine. So it was just really interesting to kind of be in school at that time too. That's when the Zoom meetings and all that stuff started becoming really big and kind of exploded to the virtual stuff, where people realized you didn't have to be in person all the time. And it makes it really convenient for you and I doing stuff like this now, but nothing ever, ever, ever beats meeting someone in person and the human connection you have.
Oh, I agree.
It's amazing.
I agree. We both do podcasting. Having somebody in person is complete different experience than on the screen.
I would agree.
I agree.
100%.
It's the feeling, the jokes, you name it. The convenience of so far away that this helped. But yeah, I had a interview a person from, actually, this is your field, from Peru. He's a firefighter. He got caught in a fire, in a building fire, high rise, and he jumped from the building. But remember, third world country, everybody's volunteer. The equipment are donations from Europe or United States. He jumped from the building with a rope, and the rope broke on the second floor going down. He literally hit the ground on top of his air pack, the SCBA. So broken femur, hips, ICU. He finally recovered after like 8 months. But since the system over there is volunteer, he have no backup, he got nothing. So he literally got abandoned and discharged from the fire service. They don't have anything at all.
Yeah.
So if you guys thinking at some point to be international, you guys have an open field. Trust me.
Just even speaks to that it really is a calling to serve. I don't know many other people who've to put their life on the line for something like that. You have nothing to gain from that. Just true altruistic behavior to really serve your community. That's an amazing story for him to be able to recover from something like that too.
Yeah. A lot of countries are volunteer. Chile, the whole country is volunteer, and they have wildfires for days, months.
Mm-hmm.
Like nothing. At least we get paid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We should be better, but we get paid.
Yeah.
But most of the countries, firefighters look like a trade work. In a lot of countries. In Europe, it's the same. The Europeans are volunteer mixed with paid firefighter.
Mm-hmm.
I know in Poland, it's only one fire department for the whole country. So it's one fire chief for the whole entire country. But yeah.
Really? That's an interesting model.
Yeah, so it's like a god. If you say yes, it's get done.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. You could be the fire chief or a region. East region, south, north, and then little by little, but it is insane. That aspect to me, that was insane when I went there. Like, but stuff gets done. When it get done the next day, literally. Just to get to that level and convince and make the changes. Bureaucracy takes a long time. It's horrible in the fire service.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
I guess I was curious, when you look, you've been to so many different countries to visit so many different fire departments and do trainings. What are some of the key differences you notice between how the U.S. operates and how different countries operate?
I will say that, first is the equipment. We have very advanced equipment. For example, compared with South America, Europe have advanced equipment, but it's different. We have the NFPA, for example. They don't have that in South America. So we got standards. Regardless where I go in the United States, whenever I go, I have some type of standards for the pack or the mask or the uniform. We have the NFPA, we got OSHA, we got a lot of institutes that actually help us to get standardized. Europe, South America, they don't have that. So in South America, for example, in Chile, you go to the fire department, it's volunteer. In the same engine or the fire truck, you have different brands of air packs from different countries. So nothing matched. So if they say I need some air, I need to find somebody with the same brand, hopefully, next to me. Europe is more standard. At least they have that and the same brand or the same stuff on the apartment, but it depends on the country. It all depends on the country. What do they do? The SOPs, like Norway, Sweden, those countries are different from the East or the West. Everybody's different in that aspect, but also equipment is a big one and training. We are more hands-on skills in America, here in the United States. Other parts of the world are more like tactical. Like, hey, how much water should I put? How many BTUs have to beat to remove the fire? We just put the water on the fire.
Mm-hmm.
But either or all ways are different. We accomplish the same goal, which is, knock out the fire, save lives, save property. But it's the way we look at it. It's completely different. And it's interesting to me. And now that I'm going to Asia, that would be, if I make it.
Yeah.
That's another one. I have to request a visa, and I don't know if I'll get it to go.
It'd be a cool experience, though.
Yeah, I'll let you know, buddy. I'll make sure I'll take some pictures about it.
If
But apparently, yeah, if I make it back, yeah. Yeah, I'm 6'2", so I will be, when the place I'm going, I'll be, look at a lot. Like, they don't see people, like, looking like me over there.
No.
Yeah, no at all. No, especially with an accent.
Yes, you're gonna be a unicorn over there.
100%, buddy. 100%, and everything will be small for me. Yeah, that'll be interesting because they don't even use like you see the MSA brand, Scott, Rosenbauer, Honeywell from Europe and America. They have their own brand of SCBA as a mask and equipment and bunker gear and their own rules for building construction. I mean, it's everything. It all depends, but they big into physical. They big into be fit for the work. I know that in Asia, especially in China, they are big into running every morning. You won't see a fat fireman. Mm-hmm. You won't. I'll be the biggest guy in that place, regardless. Yeah, and it's true though. And then you compare American firefighters against European firefighters, and we look fat. Like we look huge compared with this European. And you see that, and you deal with us all the time. So yeah, we don't know how to eat. We can lift heavy stuff, but we don't know how to eat. And for you, what's the big difference between a pro athlete and a firefighter?
Honestly, it's not that much of a difference. I just say one of them is on TV for how they handle a ball. The other one's on TV for how they save lives. I mean, the preparation is the same. Like, how do I eat healthy? How do I sleep right? How do I make sure I exercise so I'm fit for the task and my opposition, whether it's you're playing against another team or it's you're fighting a fire? Even the injuries that professional athletes and firefighters see are the same. It's a lot of it's musculoskeletal, sprains, strains, breaks. The mindset is similar, that you would run through a wall to help your team or to help someone. So it's honestly not too different mindset wise. I think that's why when I talk to a lot of chiefs, that if they were to search for their perfect candidate at their department, they wouldn't mind having an ex-athlete. Because the mentality and the skills and the teamwork is all very transferable back and forth there.
Wow. And what do you recommend to firefighters to want to start doing some strength conditioning or preventing, injuries? What will you recommend?
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that when I start something, it has to be like all or nothing. Like, just start slow. Maybe it's even just starting to go for a walk each day. Maybe you already have a couple of people at your department who lift or in the gym. There's always at least a couple who are doing it there. Just join them. And whenever you're starting something new, always give yourself grace, because you're doing something new. You're trying something, so you're not going to be the best at it. It's going to be hard at first. Just to give yourself some grace as you go through that process. And even when you don't have to change your whole diet right away, just start by switching one meal, one snack. Or I'm a big advocate for meal prepping, so I'll prep all my stuff on a Saturday or Sunday for the week. So I already know what I'm going to eat. I don't have to worry about it. I'm not tempted to buy food out since I know I already made stuff to eat. It's super helpful. And then sometimes it helps to have a coach when you're starting, to be able to write a workout plan for you. They're kind of a bit of an accountability partner too, to hold you to the goal that you set for yourself. So I'd always recommend just finding a partner or a group that you can join, as it makes it a lot more enjoyable too, especially when you're breathing hard and dying during a workout.
Yes. Yeah, which it is funny because when you start doing firefighter, the first couple of years, you go, from 0 to 100 all the time. And then when you start getting senior, you go to the blue chair and you stay there.
Mm-hmm.
And you stay there literally.
Mm-hmm.
You try to avoid anything just because you're tired, whatever. So yeah, that's the tough part. Getting people like that from the blue chair out to the gym or out to do some type of workout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's interesting. A lot of chiefs, like, you joined the profession to be a firefighter. You didn't join to work on budgets, do SOPs, those all this other stuff. And when you get up there, you get invited to a lot more dinners, luncheons. Activity level might not be as high as when you were on calls all the time, especially if you don't prioritize your physical health and exercise. So it is slightly different.
Yeah, because when you guys have bugles and the white shirt, that's it, buddy. You're eating all day in the desk, doing conference. It's true. You've seen how they get from small to big. And I got a question because you're expert on this. Do you recommend doing deadlift? Because I want to.
Yeah, I do deadlifts. It just, you want to make sure to do the form for it. I think that is actually one of the healthiest things you can do. But at the same time, it doesn't have to be loaded up with a ton of weight either. It's a really good functional movement. It helps with lower body strength, core, and back. A lot of people just don't have the right form when they do it. They'll round their back. They'll have some. They're not hinging right either, which can put more stress on your hip and knees. So when done right, it's great and healthy exercise. When you do it wrong, you can really mess up your back.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, because I ask you that so people, when they hear the podcast, they realize they don't have to be afraid of deadlift. It's a form, it's technique, more than weight. I do too. I do lift all the time too. I love doing deadlift. To me, that's my go-to. When I have nothing else to do, I go that.
Yeah, it's functional fitness too for the job. It doesn't have to be just like bench press, deadlift, squat, like the bodybuilder stuff. Maybe even doing, like, it's battle ropes, it's going for a run, it's doing step ups to mimic stairs. There's so many other things that you can do to not just have to be big and bulky, but what are the exercises I'm doing to be functional for my job as well.
Got it. What do you recommend for those guys that got back on an injury to avoid or to start doing to get better at it or to get stronger on that?
Yeah,
Few
definitely
tips.
put a big focus on mobility. So what we've seen some departments do is when they start their shift, when we go into a room, they use a foam roller, do some stretching, stuff like that. Because you never know if you're going to get called on to, you never know when you're going to get a call. So sometimes it's just up and go, up and go. And if you think about, if an athlete, you see how long they warm up before games, sometimes it's 30, 45 minutes, an hour. You think about a firefighter just going straight from 0 to 100, or even a police officer going from 0 to 100, sprinting after somebody. It's an injury just waiting to happen. A professional athlete wouldn't go do that. So it's how do you just constantly stay ready and prepare at that point. So trying to stay loose throughout the day. Getting exercise in also just lets your body be able to, if you step wrong, you can help correct it. It helps your balance. So it's preparation is the job.
I got it. No, yeah, it's true though. It's true because we go from at night going sleep, dead sleep to a call.
Yeah.
And it could be a cardiac arrest, could be a fire, and your heart goes from 80 to 150.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
That's like, I was thinking that's like driving a car. That's like pushing the gas pedal straight down on the floor, like not giving any grace is what you're doing to your body.
Yeah, metal to the pedal. See what happens. Hope for the best.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've done it way too many times. I go straight from sleeping to car fire. And 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, I'm just putting water in the car and back to sleep after the shower and sleep. And then you feel destroyed the next day, literally.
I mean, it's not the most conducive schedule to optimize sleep. And I was talking with some departments I think a lot of them are trying to be able to switch over to like a 24/72 if it's possible.
Yes.
Which would be great. Sometimes it gets really hard in 24 or 48, especially if you have to cover for someone else and you're kind of even going into 72 or 96, and it gets to be a lot dangerous at that point.
I think that will be the future of the fire departments. At least in Florida, there's a couple of those now than 24/72. And hopefully it's going to happen. It just depends on the timing, but it's going to happen because there's no way. Too many suicide, too many sleep depression, low testosterone too.
Yeah.
For us.
Yeah. You can look at reaction times too. I mean, sleep, like you have decreased reaction time, which is not helpful if you're driving the truck or you have to make quick decisions. It's delays, and it's very unsafe for anybody involved.
It is true. Hey, next time we got a meeting for 24/72, I'll bring you in the Zoom meeting.
Sounds good.
The union guys. You probably have a lot of friends in the unions around the United States talking about
Yeah.
24/72.
Yeah. For
Yeah,
good
'cause-
reason, though. For good reason. You only get
Yeah.
one body. It's for your health, physically and mentally. And I bet if we ran the numbers from the amount of injuries, workers' comp, all the different reasons that people are out, or even turnover, people just leaving departments or just leaving the service altogether, and how much it costs to recruit someone new and all the benefits, I bet the results would be surprising about how it could probably actually save money along with better health for
Yeah.
firefighters for 24/7 too.
Yeah, and I think that would be the point to sell it. Hey, you know how much can you save? All this money. You know about firefighter? This is how much you can save.
Which unfortunately is, when you look at the budget books, the big slice, the largest slice of pie is your people. It's the personnel. It's the largest asset you have. And I know there's always, the money is a thing, and I realize that, but it's like these are people too. It just gets kind of hard where you see money going to other places. That goes into a whole different discussion.
That's how the podcast. That's a different podcast, but it's good to talk about it, at least to touch it, because like I said, this podcast is seen here in the United States, is seen in Europe. We got people in Philippines for some reason. I don't know. Anywhere. So my goal with this podcast is to at least if somebody make a change, I did my job, because I'm not getting paid for the podcast. I'm just doing it because I love it.
Yeah.
Talk to people and see different point of view and different experience and how we can help each other. So it's great. It's great.
I think that's the one thing too, is I do the same thing. I don't get paid for mine, and I wouldn't want to, because it kind of takes the meaning out of the piece for that. Like one of my favorite stories is when you put an episode out there, you have no idea if a single soul is going to listen to it. But I had a guy on LinkedIn. He was a consultant and in Wisconsin. He messaged me after on LinkedIn. He's like, "Hey, I heard your episode with this police chief in Appleton, and it made me just really rethink what I'm doing with my life. So I quit my job as being a consultant, and I applied for the police department and got accepted." And he's like, "It was all because I heard your episode on the podcast, and I heard what she stood for as a chief, and I really believed in that and wanted to support her in the community." And that was such a cool thing to hear, that like someone heard your conversation and it put a 180 on their life. This really shows the effect that you have on people without you even realizing it. And you don't have to have a podcast to make that impact on people. It's, how do you say hi to someone as you're walking by? Give them a smile, because you have no idea if that's the one piece of positivity they're going to see that day.
Yeah, it's true. It is 100% true, man. It's preaching to the choir. That's why I got this shirt. I actually made it. Call 9AA.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I made it the other day. It's just because I go to airports. I mean, travel so much. So I wear on the airport and people look at me and oh, that's good. Yeah. If you need help, just call a number. Somebody will listen. Someone.
Mm-hmm.
You're not alone. Because I've seen so many people commit suicide. We recently in Florida, we have one of the main persons for peer support team in Florida commit suicide. Yeah. So it is one of those, like, come on, you have people. He knew the connection. He knew the people, the resources, but it's just that, I guess, afraid to talk.
That's one of the interesting things, is you can never look at someone and know what they're thinking inside. And sometimes it's the people you least expect. I mean, if you're guessing anybody, you're not guessing it's the peer counselor, the person who's supposed to be helping others not do that themselves do it. And sometimes it is the people who are pushing themselves to the max, the overachievers. Internal pressure gets so high that they can't take it anymore. So it's not, you can't just look at someone and say, oh, they're struggling, or oh, they're not struggling.
You never know.
It has to come from a conversation. A lot of people think that if you're going through some kind of mental distress, that you have to talk with a therapist, you have to talk with a counselor. And I talked with a therapist or counselor. Like, I think it's just a healthy thing to do, but I do get how there's a stigma around that. And I think it's being decreased, but the best therapist too is just a really good friend who you trust, to just sit there and listen.
Just text. It's always one phone call away, one text away. Could be your partner, your wife, husband, whatever, whoever you talk to. Your freaking dog can actually listen to you.
Yeah.
You just need to let it go. Just let that go. And eventually you will come back to sense and hopefully find the help that you need. And that's why we do it. I did a podcast. That's why I'm probably you did a podcast too, and you got into mental health back in the day and college days. It's the reason why. It's the reason why we're in the same field, kind of. You helped to prevent us to get injured, and we quit the injury.
And it's all tied together too. I mean, if you're injured or your mental health is not in a good space, it affects your relationship with yourself, with others, and then that affects everything. It's just the ripple effect. It's almost like there's a whole bunch of different bubbles in life, but I like to boil it down to like three of like health, wealth, and relationships. Like your health, the relationships you have, and your finances. If one of those, so obviously there's a bunch of subcategories within those, but as one of those starts to drift, it pulls the other ones out of it. Like if you're really stressed financially, it starts to put strain on your family and friends, on you being worried and stressed. So it's just like whenever something's out of balance, it starts to pull the other things out of balance too. And it's how do you kind of realize that in the moment and just kind of keep your footing, realizing that this too shall pass. I had a really good friend tell me that. And it's a good phrase. Is this too shall pass. No matter whether it's something that's really good or it's really bad. Like I want to stay in this moment forever because it's so good. This too shall pass. Or
It
if
will
it's a
pass.
really bad moment, this too shall pass. And just yeah,
It's true. Yeah. Hey, you need to make a T-shirt.
yeah. Your T-shirt reminds me of Liverpool, the Premier League team of "You'll Never Walk Alone." That's
Yes.
what I saw, and I saw there.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, bro, it is. It's true. It's just a little phrases like that. Somebody told me one time too. When you're in a stress situation, take 10 seconds to think about it
Yeah,
for the next 10 minutes. Actually, it was a fire chief from Germany, Berlin. He told me that we were drinking beer. Obviously, Germans. It's Germans, bro. What can I say?
it happens. I mean, sometimes really good conversations come out of a couple beers.
A couple beers. That's all it takes. A couple beers and soup. We were freezing in Poland, and then talking to the guy, he said, "It's funny though. Traveling give you so many stories, and
Yeah,
I always recommend to people if you have a hobby or you get addicted to something, do it for traveling. I think that's the best addiction. Addictions are horrible, but if you have to pick one, I would choose traveling with family or whatever you can. But that's the best. That's the best university you can get, the best college degree you can get. Traveling.
so it's so humbling though. Just the different perspective, the different way people do things, different way you do life. It's really easy for. I mean, I'll include my. I think everyone. You just get caught in your own routine, your own
Yeah,
bubble, and you just think the world revolves around what's happening with what you're doing, and it's so not that. It's very self-centered. Just the things you learn from other people, when your mind opens up, I completely agree with you 100%. Just the perspective that's gained, the relationships you build, the stuff you learn, it's truly amazing. But just travel.
it is. It is. I was in England one time, and with my wife, my family. And we used to have centralized AC in the United States, especially in Florida. So AC for us is like first aid. You have to have it. AC. So in England, I was getting a little hot. And she's, oh, it's kind of hot. Turn on the AC. And I open the window. She's like, with the AC? Right here is the window. They don't have that because it's too expensive or too, 10 reasons, too many reasons to figure out why. But in Europe, it's conscious to open the window. That's your AC. And that changed my wife way to see stuff. Like, oh wow, I'm not in America. I was in a little bubble, and now opens up to a different world.
I
Food
mean,
too.
just makes you realize how fortunate you are to be
Yeah,
able to have running water for a shower, to have heat or AC, or just have a bed to sleep in that doesn't have bugs in it. It really is just such a I think one of the most humbling experiences I had is when I was in college. We took a trip as student athletes. We went down to Puerto Rico to help rebuild homes after Hurricane Maria.
oh yeah,
And our whole thing, like athletes, you're like, go, 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 right? We were there for 5 days. And how do you help build as much of a home back as possible? And when we got towards the end of the trip, a lot of us felt bad because the homeowners, like their home was in shambles. And all they wanted to do was offer us what they had. They
yeah.
wanted to talk with us and connect with us. And they had by material terms nothing, but they had everything for the relationships they had and their connection to the community. I just left there feeling very humbled, and I'm like, okay, a lot of things that I think are challenges or obstacles or problems, when you zoom out far enough, really don't mean anything.
At all, at all. A little example too in Peru. We used to do vehicle extrication with tools, hydraulic tools, electronic tools. They don't have that in Peru. They use an axe and a halligan to cut a car. Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they don't have it. So that's the way to do stuff. That's the problem. Sometimes I seen people going to teach those classes, high tech, equipment. And when they go to those places, they don't you need to adapt to their situation. You cannot bring all the equipment because they don't have it.
And that is just being under resourced is very challenging, especially in situations like that. It's also very interesting though to see the innovation that occurs
Oh yeah.
because I think
Yes.
what is it? Being constrained just relates. I'm trying to find the right word for it, but it's constraints like create innovation. Like when you're backed into a corner, you
Yeah.
can't just throw money at a problem. Sometimes that just amplifies the problem. It's like I have to think a lot differently to achieve this outcome. And it's
Yeah.
really cool to see teams bind together to solve problems like that. Obviously, it does help to just have the right resources for a job. But I think I saw a department the other day. They used an old hose and they wrapped it around a pole and they used it as like battle ropes for exercise. That just
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
like small example, but like,
There you go. When we build mannequins for carry out of hoses,
mm-hmm,
or
mm-hmm,
you flip a tire, a simple
mm-hmm,
flipping a tire from a truck.
mm-hmm.
That's a workout. That's
Well, yeah,
actually
that's
a
a
big
very good
workout
workout.
too. Yeah, that's a that's a long day. That's a long morning. But it's true.
Yeah,
Just simple things. You don't have to go crazy on that. You can work out. You can have a great life with simple stuff. You don't have to go crazy on it. No,
yeah,
everything is Tesla vehicles and
those are
Apple
crazy.
watches. Oh, they're great, but horrible when they get on fire. Oh my god,
Yeah,
horrible. So pass faster time. Before we go, have a great time with you, man. Hopefully,
yeah,
come back to the next podcast. Oh, I can go to your podcast. It will be great too.
mm-hmm,
I got stories to. Yeah, I can write a book. Actually, I should write a book. Actually,
yeah.
so the experience that I have,
Yeah,
especially
I have a
working.
book coming out right now. I have my fourth one, and I've taken all the 70 interviews I've done with different fire chiefs from across the U.S. and actually Reggie Freeman, who's now in Saudi Arabia as the fire commissioner. I've gone back and listened to all the episodes and taken the notes and have put them into a book. So it's almost like the ultimate cliff notes from the
Yeah,
best lessons that fire and
that's
police
interesting.
chiefs have learned. It's called Resilience Beyond Duty. It'll be out in March. And then
Sweet.
I'm donating all the proceeds from that back to public safety. So it's a volunteer fire department, whatever it is, all the funds are going back into public
Awesome,
safety.
bro.
So it's been a
Where
fun
that
project.
book? Well, that's awesome. Where people can find that book when it comes out, or where they can find your books.
Yeah, best way is on Amazon, or if you want to connect with me to ask questions or look at stuff or anything, is the best way is through LinkedIn. Just type in my name, Alec Wons. But all the books will be on Amazon. The new one called Resilience Beyond Duty. It's like 153 life lessons fire and police chiefs learn the hard way, so you don't have to. That'll be out in March of 2025. So just about a little over a month.
Yeah, congratulations. I might get it. I will get it actually because it's interesting, and we need to support each other. That's the only way, brother. Support each other.
And people don't have to worry. It's you get the best of both worlds. You get to learn the amazing nuggets of knowledge, and then all the money goes back into public safety. So you're actually doing it. Anyone listening to is doing a disservice by not getting it for your own.
100%.
And there's an interesting frame I heard someone say from a podcast was the biggest expense you have is ignorance. It's like how can I, if I could just look at someone else and learn someone else's life lessons without having to go through the pain, the loss of time or money, that is just beautiful. So I'm always just a huge advocate of learning for people and learn so many things from these chiefs. So how do you share it? Just like the stuff that you're doing on your podcast, you're taking all these other people and connecting them to learn something from it and change their life. It's amazing.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, I might actually do that too. I might, because I got an interesting guest. One time I had a stripper from Texas.
All
Talk to her.
right.
Yeah. And it's a good episode because I asked her, how do you deal, being a stripper and being a mom? How do you deal with it's a job. I get it. And you detach your mind from the job and you put your mind someone else. But how do you deal with that? And she said, I don't. I just go through the motions. And when she's go home, she's the mom. And what happened at work, happened at work. And it's interesting, like, yeah. So, but she won the strip Olympics 20.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's amazing.
I know.
I mean, that can almost be looked at as the fire service too, or just public safety. It's like you go on a really bad call and you just put it in a box deep inside and then go home to family. Eventually,
And then
one day, though, the
explode.
Pandora's box opens and probably not the time you want it to.
Yeah. It's for example, it's Chief Pine from Orange County. He retired from Orange County. He was the chief in charge when the whale in SeaWorld ate the trainer.
Oh, gosh.
He was in charge of that scene years after years. Well, a lot of calls too, but that's one of the big ones that he did. When he retired, he literally stopped in the parking lot and started crying for hours because it exploded. Suddenly, out of nowhere, exploded.
Yeah.
And he's going through therapy since to go retire. And he's now great. I talked to him in a podcast and he told me about that story. Like, yeah, that a ball down and I put it in a little box, and suddenly after years of service, just exploded.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah, I might do the same, buddy. You might have to help me with that, with doing the book. I'm interested in doing that. It's a good idea.
Yeah,
The
more
more
than
better, I
happy
guess.
to. It's a fun, reflective process to me. I hated writing in high school and college, but I actually started writing because like it just helped to get your ideas out of your between your own two ears and write them down. And I was like, oh, this actually isn't too bad.
It's awesome.
It's a fun process. So yeah, if you need help with it, just let me know.
Oh, I will. Trust me, I will. And with that, one last advice before we go, to anybody, advices for firefighters about to retire. How do they keep themselves healthy on that process of retirement? Because I think that's the big one. I know how to talk about it. Because when you retire, people will remember you for 6 months and then that's it. You're gone.
Yeah. I think when a lot of people think healthy too, they might go to the physical realm there. But I think the big thing is there's a huge identity shift that happens there. When you're wrapped up in saving people, you're around your buddies all day at the station, and all of a sudden you get rid of both those elements along with everything else. It almost feels like a death would occur at that point, a loss of identity. So you need to really make sure is how do I stay connected with the department? How do I have good social interactions, whether it's family, friends, during that transition? Is there alumni events you can go to at that department? Because the social isolation would probably be the one thing that does result in a lower life expectancy at that point. I think there's no better predictor of someone's health than the social relationships you have. There was an interesting study done in the book that Flyers where people didn't have the best health at all or diet, but it was the social interactions they all had, and people lived to be almost like 100. And that's a big piece of it. So I just to sum it up, I'd just be like, make sure you have really good friends and social support as you go through that time. It's almost like if you go through a divorce or a death, it is a kind of death or divorce, just with the identity you have at that point. Who am I after a career in the fire service?
That's true. Yeah, because you're 30, 20 years, 25 years in the same group of people, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly you're out. That's it. And no more 24/48 or 24/72 or whatever schedule you got. And that's it. New life, literally. On your 50s or 60s, depending.
Yeah, it is. It's like you're starting fresh. And some of the chiefs are like, yeah, it's how do I line up something before I go into that? Because sometimes you just go and you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm not around the people anymore. The relationship's a little different. What purpose do I have? What do I live for? And if you don't have that, that really impacts your health.
Yeah, it's true. And that's a good advice, actually. That's great advice. Yeah, it's true, man. And if people want to find your books or find you to talk, where you can go again? So
yeah,
they can
best one is just LinkedIn. Alec Wons, ALEC, last name is Wons, WONS. There's a link in there that goes to a website with books, but then also that's the best place to be able to connect with me. If you have any questions, I can help you anything. I'm super active on there. And I post little fun things too, little surveys and about shift schedules, other stuff too. So I always love just learning from other people too. So feel free to connect there.
And Instagram too. That's what I
Instagram's
find.
there. Yeah. Yeah.
I found you.
Mm-hmm.
And before we go, who do you recommend to come to the podcast and talk to me? Or just talk?
That's a really good question. It kind of
You
depends.
got a lot of
You've had an interesting.
Oh yeah.
You've had an interesting array of people on your podcast.
I got from sex coach.
Strippers.
I got sex coach, especially in BSM, to fire chief and European linguistics professionals that teach how to. Yeah, I talked to a girl from Poland. And she teach firefighters how to speak English. Because they have a big influence of English speakers in Poland. Because people are moving to Poland for different reasons, and they don't know how to communicate. And her job is basically helping them study English.
I think there's one fire chief is Dave Robertson. I think he's in Fort Francis in Canada. Really good friend, and had him on the show. I think I'm going to have him back again, just because he has such keen leadership advice, life experience. I think he'd be a really great person that your listeners would enjoy the conversation.
Sweet. Awesome. If you don't mind sending me the contact, I appreciate it. But with that, thank you so much, Alex. It's been a pleasure to me. I was looking forward with this conversation, sweet and short, because if it's more than 1 hour, people will lose, attention. And I'm not Joe Rogan that makes 100 million an episode.
Yeah.
We are not. So yeah, I wish I can be in that position, but and talk 4 hours, and I don't care. But yeah, it is what it is, man. You just you adapt and overcome. So we do the best. And thank you, man. I appreciate it. And we'll see you soon, hopefully.
Yeah,
We
thank
can
you
do
for
this
having
in
me on.
person eventually.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Oh yeah, it will be awesome. Let me know when back in Florida, or if I go over there, we can get together and just do it.
Sounds
All
like a
right,
plan to
thank
me.
you, my listeners. Thank you, guys. Remember, subscribe, share, like, all the stuff. And thank you for listening. Thank you for being the Bomberos on Fire podcast. Bye. All right.